in the process of advocacy.
Thank you so much, Mahmoud. I am so sorry. I just realized we hadn't started recording. For our colleagues who might not attend, but it's okay. They haven't. I'll share the slides, but they'll start the recording right here. But it's still fine. Fanta, please go on.
Fanta speaking. In doing this at Jaden, we've been trying our level best. First of all, we have this belief that in our culture, before you reach out to any child, the parents or community stakeholders should be in known of whatever you are doing. Because SRHR can't be done with only people who can consent, meaning people who are above 18 years. We still need people who are below 18 years. And in doing that, we need their parents to consent. So in Jaden, we tried reaching out to community stakeholders because we cannot reach out to all parents. Few guidance who we can train, who've already trained, educated them about SRHR. Doing this is not only for them to be consenting on whatever we bring to them. Again, we know mothers, we know guidance are teachers at home. They will be able to cascade our messages even when we are not around. Then again, we've gone further to talk to the media representative, the journalists. We cannot be almost always in the media to talk to our girls, to talk to our boys. But the media, sometimes they can bring our slots in, send a record of what to do, teach people, which have been helpful for us in Sierra Leone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I do agree, because even for those of you who are parents here, you do monitor what your child sees on social media, and you do try to mute even words that they shouldn't see. And most parents even mute if you're talking about sexual health, because I want to be controversial and say most parents don't like the word sex, yet their kids already know what sex is. So trying to see how you can also filter that content in a way that it reaches them, but in a way that is also accepted by the parents. Just going through by the comments, Al-Haji says parents are also key primary audience. Emilda says, Emilda, it's not Imelda. In Kenya, we say Imelda, so here it's Emilda, it's okay. Primary audience could also be community leaders. True, local leaders play a significant role in influencing cultural norms. True, add middlemen that you're trying to. I'm so sorry, who has a baby on the background? Yeah. So we're trying to say these local leaders are the middlemen in your communities, because just trying to see from the case studies that we've had in Kenya when we're implementing a program on teenage pregnancy, we had to go through those community elders so that they can allow us to even interact with the community themselves and why we are there to interact with them. Rosalind, thank you for mentioning that if you're struggling to have the correct email link, it's the one that Ibrahim shared with you to register for the event. And then another one, just search on your emails and say Amref Health Africa. So it must appear from, let me just mute Lillian and the cute child. Yeah, so your name will appear. Just search on your emails and say Amref Health Africa. It should appear there, because when we are doing this reimbursement, only one Mahmoud will be paid, and it's the Mahmoud that Ibrahim knows. So unless you do rename, or just go back to your emails and check. Parents and teachers are also key primary audience, true, because kids spend 70% of their lives probably in school right now, and the teachers are the ones who are going to be your key informants of spreading the messages that you're trying to put across. So we'll go to the next. So I don't know who keeps painting my presentation.
Hello, Hello.
Sorry, who is
Hello,
there?
Sharon. Tijan, yeah.
Okay, yes, Tijan.
Yes, we are talking about how parents are very key and how it has to be because of the content. What the Ministry of Education has done in Sierra Leone, we learned that through the training that Ibrahim organized with the Ministry of Education. They have categorized the syllabus for pupils. Like from those that are in classes 1 to 3, they have exactly what they will be teaching them, so that they won't be going too much above their ages and what they should know. And from classes 3, 4, 5, and 6, they have what they will be teaching them. classes 6, Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, they also have what will be teaching them. So the Ministry of Education has already categorized the training material for pupils that will be teaching, or for teachers that will be teaching those subjects in schools. So that if you're in class 1, you will know what will be teaching you at class 1 to class 3. So it has been categorized, and that I think will help greatly in protecting some of these kids in school.
Thank you, Tijan. I do agree completely 100%. It also depends with the landscape also in your country. It could be that maybe parents are quite key to know what their kids are learning also in their schools. And also it's very quite important as well to involve everyone in the community. It could be the teachers who are spending majority of the time with your children in school. It could be the middlemen in the communities. It could be also your pastors, your sheikhs, also your Muslim leaders who are in the churches, in the mosques. Also, if you're an atheist, also the television itself, it could be the journalists that you're trying to reach out to for them to spread this message. Thank you so much for pausing and reflecting with me. I think we'll just move on to the next slide. So now we're going to social media platforms, the best uses for SRHR advocacy. And you did mention that LinkedIn could be big for us here, but it's not big for you there. But for right now, we're going to do Instagram. So when you're going for the Instagram platform, we see visual storytelling. That's the videos, short videos. We have the reels, which are especially popular with the youth. And we'll try to tie it also with TikTok, where you can also share your videos from TikTok to Instagram itself, and also Facebook. Facebook, we have community groups. It's just building a community right there. For example, you as the coalition could come up with a big page on Facebook and name yourself maybe Sierra Leone Coalition on SRHR or something, and then try to build your community from there, trying to get young people joining you. And I do appreciate Mahmoud mentioned that adolescents are right there, because even when we're saying youth starts from 18 to 35, we do have the incoming adolescents who are joining the youth bracket, and they'd also want to be part of what you're trying to put across, because when you impact one adolescent, then you're impacting many more of them, and they're joining the cause and making it better from where you left it off. We have Twitter for real-time updates, policy discussion, and event hashtags. You could be having an event. Right now, you could say hashtag Masterclass Youth Coalition or something, and then it blows up, for example. And I hope I've tackled every platform here, but you've told me a majority of you are not on LinkedIn, but please, I do encourage you guys to create a page on LinkedIn. Just keep updating, even if, I keep saying, even for all these platforms, you don't have to have so many numbers. WIACT didn't start with so many numbers. It was discouraging at first, but we grew because we kept, I keep saying, going back to the first slide, keep being concise, keep being active itself, because you can't just post today and then the next time you decide to post is 2 months from now. Then that's not being active, and that's not being informative from your audience as well, who want to know what you're doing step by step. For posts, I do advise you could do maybe 2 weekly. There's also on Twitter, you could do also daily if you want, but I do find it a bit tedious because people just want to scroll for fun on Twitter. So you just have to keep your message short, sweet. Tell us you're advocating for 1, 2, 3, you're done, keep going, and then just grow your audience from there, because Rome was not built in a day. We don't have to have millions of followers. Even those 10 people that are liking your content right now is your community, and they're there because they support the cause that you do. So the messaging on social media for SRHR will start with the audience-centered messaging. Knowing your audience preferences, for example, you guys mentioned you do face a lot of backlash. Number one, if you're posting something, let's say FGM, and then you find someone who is pro FGM coming to your comment section and just calling you out. Just knowing your audience preferences and also sensitivities, and also trying to tackle those common misconceptions. And the key word here is knowing. So when you do an audience analysis, I'll show you the tools later on the next slides. Just knowing who your audience is and just trying to restructure your strategy or your content in a way that affects that main audience that you have. when you go on Meta, for example, I'll talk about that Meta tool, and then you go try and see your audience. Your audience is 35 years old and older. It could be why maybe when you're posting, that's why it's been facing a lot of backlash, because that is your audience, the older generation, those who don't really understand your cause. Number two, we do have emotional resonance, the using of storytelling to create empathy. It could be you're just posting videos for the sake of just because, and there's also key strategies for using storytelling that I will share that key resource. I'm not sure whether you guys also joined the meeting with Comic Relief, the one that they shared on storytelling, but I will be sharing those resources with you guys just so you can see how you can use storytelling as well for your organization. It could be creating a short story, a documentary that you can use to show, or maybe even to gather even sympathy from the audiences. And also these videos, actually, when you use emotional resonance, they're the ones that bring donor money in that want to support your cause as well. That's the keyword, is using storytelling. And then we come to the third keyword, is sharing. Educational and fact-based content. So we want to share evidence-based information. Don't just tell people this is what we're doing, but you're not telling them how you're doing it. You're not sharing evidence of what you're doing. You could have tweeted and said, today we're here at, let's say, Freetown primary school, and we're doing 1, 2, 3, and there's no photo of what you're doing, so people don't really see what you're doing. It could be you're distributing dignity kits to the kids in school. It could be menstrual pads, but just telling people, oh, we distributed like 2,000 menstrual pads in this school, but you've not shown like there's a photo or a video, or just you as your whole team there distributing this thing. So people find it hard to believe, okay, you just told us you did 2,000, but where is the evidence, you see? And then the last one is called the call to action. Your post must always have a call to action. It could be saying, today we decided we were going to visit, let's say, a children's home 1, 2, 3, but then where is the call to action? It could be the call to action would be, please join us in this cause by supporting and by maybe donating to www. And you're done. Always make sure your post has a call to action. We don't want to only read like you're doing 1, 2, 3, and then the call to action isn't there. It could be join our team, or join us for the next one, or please stay tuned for 1, 2, 3. I hope we're okay until there. Are we good? Thumbs up. Yeah, good. Thank you, Rosalie. So when we say measuring impact on social media, one is measuring your success. That's why I keep saying key metrics. These are the things that you try to analyze. Who is in your audience, for example? It could be the reach. You're finding maybe your content isn't really blowing up because, one, you don't have the reach, you don't have the engagement rate, you're not engaging in shares, you don't have comments. There's no call to action follow-up. I could be telling people, sign up on our newsletter, and there's no people signing up on our newsletter. Then you have to go back and reanalyze your strategy as to why people are not signing up. Is it because that the posters you're making are not that visually appealing? It could be, is it that you haven't used the correct hashtag for pushing your content? Number two is also, what tools for tracking are you using? The tools that I mentioned. We have Instagram and Facebook that use Meta Business Suite. I'm not sure whether you guys have heard of it. Has anyone of you heard of Meta Business Suite? Okay, would any of you like me to show you how the Meta Business Suite looks like?
Sure.
Yeah, just give me a minute. So this is how the Meta Business Suite looks like. Can you see my screen now? Okay. So for Meta, the best thing with it is that it's free. It's free. You can the only thing you need to sign up with is your Facebook account or your Instagram account. And the good thing about your Instagram is that you can link it to your Facebook account. That's why when you use the Meta, and I keep saying it's free, guys, it's a free tool. And this free tool can show you, for example, this is YX1, and can show you, for example, your reach so far. As you can see, in October, going through November, we increased our reach by 162%. Our content interactions, again, we didn't post that much, but we did get 100% content interaction. We didn't post any links, so that also has been low. And also our followers for now are 6,000, which we keep improving over time. And you can see it also gives you like who your audience is. For example, YX audience, let me try to see our demographics. As you can see, we have men, 57.8%, and women who are 42.2%. These are our top cities or our top countries. Our top countries are Kenya, of course, because WAC started in Kenya. We have Zambia, Ethiopia, and so forth and so forth. And these are just some of how Meta can show you how your organization is performing on social media. And I keep telling you guys, it's free also. I can see so many texts. Okay, please. Oh, now you can see. Thank you. And also you can see that back to the presentation, I will also mention there's another tool called Hootsuite. Let me just open it up. Hootsuite is a paid feature. They do have the free one, but I wouldn't recommend the free one because the free one doesn't really show you exactly what you want to see. And the good thing, let me just share it. Yeah. The good thing about the Hootsuite one, you can try the free version or you can try the paid one, is that you can also get social listening. I'm not sure how many of you have heard what social listening is. But by social listening, you can just check, even when you're talking about, let's say, SRHR in Sierra Leone, what is the audience really looking for when they're searching about SRHR? For example, let's type, let me type here SRHR. And then we shall see what people are talking about. I hope everyone can see my screen, just so I'm not speaking alone.
Yes, but
okay.
I didn't get the clear. I don't know for others.
You did not get what?
The name of the app, please.
This is known as Hootsuite. Here, I'll just type it. I will include it as a link also. I'll share it with Ibrahim. So I saw you have a group, so Ibrahim will just share this link with the group. I'll share it with you guys. And we also have the Meta Business Suite. That one I've told you it's completely free as long as you have an Instagram and a Facebook account. So you can see when you searched for SRHR, we can see for the past 7 days, this is what people have been talking about. The results, we have 52% who have been positive and 13% who have been negative. So if we're trying to compare it, let's say with Sierra Leone, let's see. So you can see like 12.8 people have been talking about it, but now you can see the sentiment in here. For Sierra Leone, it's positive. We do have 10% or 2.8%, which are negative. But in SRHR, we do have 19.8%, which are negative. But these are some of the tools that we keep mentioning are for analytics. Let me just type here, Meta. And then I'll keep including it's free. Okay, it's in the chat box. Let me just now go back to sharing the slide. And then we do have other tools, third-party tools for deeper. I mentioned Hootsuite, I mentioned Meta, and also there's Sprout Social. Sprout is also a paid version. So you can also go through and explore the options that you have, and then now you can see which one works best for you, also as a brand and also as an organization. So here is where we mentioned that we are adapting to challenges in SRHR. And number one that we're going to be talking about is handling sensitivity. Most of you mentioned that some people come back to your comment section, or maybe people report your page. And here we're saying SRHR topics that often intersect with cultural and religious beliefs, they gain a lot of traction and they gain a lot of negative feedback, especially because there's people who want you to be tied towards what they believe in, as the same way just as you are trying to make them believe in what you're doing as well in SRHR, right? And so the strategies that we have used and we've seen work is number one, using neutral language. It's just framing your message in a way that, yes, you're emphasizing the well-being of young women or young girls and empowerment, rather than using terms that might provoke this resistance. For example, one of you mentioned a religious leader was kept commenting on her content. For example, the use of directly addressing contraceptives and just saying planning for a healthy family, for example. It's just in a way that you're framing your language so that when someone searches contraceptives, it doesn't bring your content to the top of what they're looking for. But if someone else who wants this relevant information on SRHR, such as planning for a healthy family, then your content just comes up there. And that really sways away the people, the naysayers rather, who want to come and maybe report your page, for example, and block your page, for example. We do have empathy-driven storytelling. So we're sharing personal stories and testimonials to humanize these issues. So mainly it could be you're going to the community and shooting stories with these people. So what happens is when you're telling, we're trying to give stories of overcoming SRHR challenges that are very relatable, and then they can reduce this defensiveness, because when you go to the community and maybe you find that religious leader, for example, who is in GBV, and they talk about it, so they're trying to bring their story out to the world and telling people it's not okay to be in such situations, then that gives a bit of empathy, and this person who is trying to be very defensive with your content could maybe see, okay, maybe someone I know or someone who is also in the field that I am in has gone through that, and that drives the empathy-driven storytelling. We also have engaging with local voices, so we don't want to exclude the religious leaders, the naysayers. We want to partner with them instead, who can lend this credibility. So it's trying to see who can you sway within that within your naysayers pool. I'll say it's just like a box. For example, Rosalind, you mentioned, is it the religious leader? And you're like, you just look for someone as a religious leader or a pastor or a sheikh or something and get them back to your side, for example. So you partner with them, and then they can lend that credibility and understanding to these sensitive topics. We've had Muslim leaders who have gone to their mosques and tried to speak on issues, let's say femicide, and the people are listening to them because you've had an ally come to your side and they have listened to what you're trying to put across. I hope everyone is okay until there. Did I lose anyone? Sorry, I can't see from my end.
Sure, we are with you. We are with you. I'm sure we are good.
Okay. And thank you so much. I can see the comments coming in. So we'll go to the next one on overcoming censorship. By censorship, we mean your content isn't coming on top of things when people are searching about, let's say, YPPB, or people are searching about WIACT. It's because your content has been censored, and censored because of what? The information that you're sharing. So many SRHR terms and images can be flagged, for example, on social media. For example, you're trying to advocate for ending FGM, and the image that you've used is a woman being cut. And such images, people don't like seeing that. That's not the first thing someone wants to see when they wake up. And they are most likely to flag your content because one, it was too sensitive. Number two, it was derogatory, for example. And that's why you see, even on Instagram, there are certain images or posts when you see, they give you a disclaimer, for example, that you're about to see something very sensitive. So what approaches can you use? Number one, using indirect terminologies. Instead of saying we want to promote safe abortion, then you use terms like safe access to health services, for example. So you don't use the term abortion, but saying safe access to health services. We have visual cues and icons, so relay icons that audiences understand, that people cannot be flagged. I keep saying this one works best, for example, if you're a Gen Z and you have, let's say, baby boomers who don't understand what you're trying to say. So this works well within the younger audiences, for example. And then we have localize and decentralize the content. It's just using your platform like WhatsApp and Telegram, and using where censorship is less likely. This way SRHR can reach communities. But when we say localize your content, is what's the, let's say in Kenya, we do have tribal languages. I could go on WhatsApp and tweet and post in my tribal language that people from other languages do not understand, but they know what I'm trying to put across, like, right? At the same time, when you're saying localized and decentralized content, is shooting in the language that people may understand. Those people in the communities maybe who don't understand English as much. Maybe they understand Sierra Leone also there's Creole. Maybe they understand that Creole. So then shoot your content in that Creole in a way that they can understand, and that way it reaches many people within the communities. You could also create private groups and forums on social media. You can have a private group where SRHR content is being distributed. That way you don't get so many people being defensive in your groups or in comments. So at this point, we're also pausing again and reflecting. So I'd like some of you who are not my usual culprits to just tell me what's your biggest challenge when advocating online for SRHR? We start from there. You can type it. We can also just raise your hand or just unmute and speak. It's an interactive language. Mahmoud, do you want to start? I can see your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. So I think this is not just for me, but I think many advocates as well. One of our biggest challenges for advocating around SRHR on online platform is around the information. I think there is a huge information gap in Sierra Leone that young people don't really have access to in order to make your claims online or whether any other platform. Because if you are also doing advocacy, it is important you make sure that you have the information, you have the statistics, the data, but these things are not really available. But even if they're available, there are lots of back and forth, to have an accurate data is a challenge. So I think there is information gap around our advocacy, which is making it a challenge.
Thank you, Mahmoud. And for that, I usually tell people just try to use digital storytelling, for example, alternative content. Just going to your community and just advocating for this themselves in the language that they understand. For example, even using the traditional resources, you find that most people listen to radio. So try to get on that radio and try to give your message into that radio. I'm so sorry, Mohammed, I have to mute you. Yeah, I was saying you have to go through these traditional channels of communication if you want to reach the community, especially because many people within the communities aren't that digitally literate. So when they're not, then you have to literally go where they are. It could be you're using intergenerational dialogues within those communities, just meeting the middlemen and telling them, I want to speak, for example, to this certain group of people that we have identified and want to tell them about maybe access to safe reproductive health rights or even youth-friendly services, or even those learning skills. I'm trying to remember the term that Rosalind you used, and trying to just sit down with them and trying to see how best they can also learn this information as well. Rosalind, you're up next.
Yes, for sensitive but with SRHR messages, one is we were able to have it to be part of our school curriculum. So how we did it is we dialogue with key decision makers. With in advocacy we've been talking. So in smart advocacy, after understanding our landscape, we presented evidence-based. In Sierra Leone, we have the highest rate of teenage pregnancy. It was shared. We have, girls dropping out of schools. We have the rate of teenage pregnancy in various districts on the high rate. So with these evidences that we had, we dished out, we met decision makers. We cannot make decision on our own. So we want these issues to be minimized, stopped, if not abolished totally, but we want the numbers to get down. So what do we want? In your district, we have girls, over 28% that are getting pregnant every year. So when they see these things, they'll say, okay, let's dialogue, what's the way forward? We then inform them that, okay, we want to curtail the high rates of pregnancy. How do we do it? We start from our schools. We go with tailored messages. We'll not be teaching lower grade children about sex, but they'll be taught about their bodily parts, productive parts, and all of it. So when they get to those higher ranks, they'll be understand what is needed. So we dialogue with the Ministry of Basic Education. We told them what is at stake. Ministry of Health, development partners, UNFPA, the ones that are providing contraceptive. We said we want CSC them to be part of our school curriculum. Some other young people, we displayed at Parliament. We did a mock Parliament. I think Mood and myself were a part of that conversation, wherein we had the deputy speaker of the Parliament was there. It was like, young people, you want us to promote it? We're like, yes, because our colleagues who are not privileged to be on this table, they are suffering. So we, for policymakers, we lobby with them, because we will not go and protest or do activism. So we want SRHR, we want this policy, dialogue with them, because at the end of the day, they are not making the decision. But with evidence in our hands, they will know. So that's how sensitive issues, that's how we do it.
Thank you, Rosalind. And even for people, I like to echo what you say, people who are not digitally literate, especially in these communities, you've seen them, you've seen how there's high levels of censorship and restricted access to information, because people who are in the rural areas tend to be more censored and tend to be more backward in the way they think, for lack of a better word. And it is very essential to approach that communication and that advocacy in a way that is very accessible to these people, and having these strategies that are community censored. And I will keep echoing that you should work with community leaders, these health workers, even those teachers, to disseminate information through trusted in-person networks. Those students who are going to this school trust the teacher more than, you find they trust the teacher more than even they trust the parent, for example. And so you're trying to reach out to this teacher and train them in a way that if a student comes to them for this information that you have, let's say SYPPD or the National Youth Council, then they can be a resource for that person, for example. And this also is just leveraging on capacity building these people, the local advocates, the teachers who can be your champions on the ground. That even if you're doing online advocacy on social media, then you do have champions on the ground. For example, you guys are our champions as WIACT. You're on the ground doing SRHR initiatives. And by equipping you guys with these resources, then these leaders, you leaders are acting as trusted sources for the community. Tijan, your hand is up.
Yes. One of the challenges we are having, Mahmoud started talking about it, is data. Can you imagine, even the Ministry of Education, the Directorate, is not having the complete data of organizations or institutions working on SRHR in this country. We have civil society organizations, we have other NGOs that are implementing the same project across the country. But they don't have data of where these particular projects are implemented. So one of the challenges here is, when we are having the training with them, we ask, now, you said you are engaging one A, B, and C district. We want you to add another 2 districts to your current district you are implementing this project. But can you tell us how many organizations are currently implementing this? They don't have, right? So in fact, right from there, we took it as an action point, as a coalition, that will let all organizations implementing activities or projects on SRHR to meet with the Ministry of Education directly. That's a very big problem for all of us. And the second one is capacity building. We are having teachers in those remote areas that this particular topic is very new to them. So we told them, how can you help those teachers that are in those places, those remote or hard to reach areas, to get materials or to get training on this thing. They said we've started, but we are incapacitated financially to reach all of them. So that has to be another challenge. How are they going to, like you are rightly saying, some of these kids, some of these people, they listen to their teachers more than their parents. For instance, if a child goes to school and come back, what they taught him in school or her in school, if you want to deviate from that particular topic, they will tell you, no, this is not our teacher, this is not what our teacher told us in school today. They are going back to what the teacher told us. So they listen to their teachers more than what their parents are saying. So in this place, if they are not well taught in those places, are we seeing the reality of succeeding? So these are the two challenges we might be having: the capacity of the teachers and the data from the Ministry of Education, who is responsible for all schools in this country.
Thank you. I think in terms of data, it's very quite wide. And for me, it's also a learning curve as well, because even when we are doing grassroots campaigns for maybe data advocacy, it's just trying to see how we can collaborate with local organizations, partnering also the stakeholders, that's the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education, and trying to see how can we share about the importance of having this evidence and data, and also encouraging the communities to advocate for more and reliable information. Again, I go back to my point of capacity building the local champions who can share evidence-based data in these informal settings in a way that is understandable for everyone. In terms of maybe where parents and teachers are not harmonizing in a way that the student believes the teacher more on SRHR related topics, for example, I think it's also engaging these teachers as well as champions, as trusted information sources who can provide simplified and maybe just these approved materials. At the end of the day, it has to be approved, because we're not trying to go against the Ministry of Education as well. It's just trying to see how can we synergize this content so that the Ministry of Education can as well see the goodness of what we're trying to put across. For example, is the comprehensive sexual education, and we're trying to teach children about sexual health and being prepared for such situations, and trying to see how can we incorporate this SRHR within the broader topics, maybe life skills in school as well. You've mentioned that it was restructured to a life skill class. So I think that is what I can say for now, but it's a good learning curve. We'll go back and research it, and maybe we can also brainstorm together on our last breakout through session, where we can just brainstorm and see how best can we now harmonize all of this. I'd like to, in the interest of time, let me go to the next question. Oh my God, I can't, okay. Oh, we've already talked about how you currently engage your audience. And the last one should be, are there specific tactics that you found are working well in your audience? I'll just take two responses for now. Which tactics are working well, Roslyn? And the people who are not communicating, I can see you in the chat box. Please just unmute and speak, just so we can know each other as well. Roslyn, go ahead.
So after this, I'll not talk again. Let others speak. But yes, what what have been working well for all other issues, specifically on SRHR, is when we use for me, we call them grassroots familiar phases, because as we were saying, when you go to communities, most of those who are layers to have challenge with online and all of it. But when we go with our messages, if you use, for instance, their leaders, their leaders, familiar faces, you get them on board. So it has been working well. And for Sierra Leone, we have this hands off our girls. So if you want to do anything around child marriage, if you bring on board the first lady, you have all the attention, you have all the driving towards this one person. So when we use grassroots or familiar faces, it helps us to to reach our audience well, and it has been working for us.
Thank you. I can see Mohammed says public lecture campaign, creating, I'm coming back to you, Gracilia. Creating awareness and sensitization through radio by creating an advocacy platform and also implementing in the school curriculum. Thank you, Mohammed. Fatmata says they should make SRHR as a subject. I do agree. Same way they should also make financial classes very inclusive. By the time someone hits 18, they know what to expect. SRHR advocacy often faces political obstacles, true, as policies around contraception, abortion, and comprehensive sex education can be polarized in issues, true. Laws and policies can shift dramatically based on political leadership, very true, especially when we have where areas of power transition. I mean, right now we're seeing that with the current US elections, that of course will have a ripple effect also within the policy space, especially on sexual and reproductive health rights. So it will be great to keep monitoring that. Priscilla, just next to you before we proceed to our next slide.
Okay, I think one of the things that is also working for us is the approach that we use as in acknowledging the audience. That is to say, when you are talking to kids or children that are in primary school, you are much more aware of their vulnerability and their tendencies to not understand words that are, let me say, too broad for them or terms that are too broad. And I think it's working well. And as time goes, they will understand. When you put it down to their level, they will understand better and not use the information in a way that will harm them. Compared to when you just go, maybe you just, let me say, have a mixture of adolescents, have a mixture of kids together and try to talk on these topics, and you would find out that for some it's appropriate and for some it's not appropriate. So I think that acknowledging their level of understanding, their level of education and mindset is a tactics that works well. And coming to the teachers that are supposed to be cascading these messages in their schools, I think another thing that works well is training, because for urban areas, you have teachers that are actually qualified or trained and qualified to teach. But when you go into these rural areas, we barely even have teachers that are qualified to teach. Not to say SRH topic. And so you'd find out that they don't have the technical know-how or the special tactics that they should use. And so if we as a coalition or organizations or CSOs working on this actually take the onus to train these teachers, especially in these local areas, so the kids there will not be left out, and to tell them the tactics involved in capturing or cascading these messages on their sexual and reproductive health. It's a tactics that is also working, yet more needs to be done.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. I do agree tactics is quite key. We also have Audrey saying if we choose a social media to pass on information and targeting young people, our message should be fun and precise. It's very true, especially on TikTok. It has to be in line with the music that you're using, in line with also the font that you're using. You know, young people, they like things that are very hype. So you have to also be in line with what your audience, and if your audience is the young people, then you have to be in line with what they really like. I saw Precious's hand was up, but then it went down again. So before we proceed to the next slide, that's building resilience in messaging, I'd like to give us all a health break of 5 minutes, and then we do reconvene in it's 2:30 my time, so it must be 11:30 your time. So let's reconvene at 11:32, and I will see you after the short break. Are we all good for that? Just grab a drink, water, go for a health break, and then I'll see you in 5 minutes, if that's okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We have 1 minute for everyone to get back. Thank you, Rosalind. The music is nice. Thank you. So if you're back, please react on the chat box with your favorite emoji. Just like Mohammed has done, just like I've done. So we can proceed. Good. Audrey, I can see Daniel. Keep them coming. Ibrahim, Hassan, Eric is back. Okay, we do have Saidu, Fatmata, and some of these names. I'm not seeing you guys collaborate with me on this. There's just silence everywhere. So I hope in the next one or in the breakout rooms, you'll be used as the presenters for the breakout. So right now, in the interest of time, because I'm trying to be done in the next 30 minutes, just so you can go about your day. I know it's Friday, it should be a weekend. So yeah. I guess in the interest of time, I can see majority of us are back. Then we are going to be talking about building resilience in messaging, the importance of consistency. As you've seen me before, I've spoken about consistency in all the slides, being consistent with what you're messaging and being persistent, for example. It's just a way to create that steady presence on your social media account. I kept saying, don't just post today and then the next time we hear about, let's say, YPPD is in the next 2 months when you're having an event or something. Just keep engaging people. It could be through also commenting on people's posts and trying to engage. Also, that cross commenting on other organizations. It could be you're commenting on WIAC's page. It could be WIAC is commenting on, let's say, the National Youth Council in Sierra Leone's page. Yeah, so it just shows there's a commitment to what you're doing and also strengthens your followers' trust and support. Also, people do find it hard to not trust a page that has been offline. For example, I'm trying to get information about your organization. The first place I will go is your social media. And if I see the last post you guys made was 2 years ago, then I'll think your page is fake. So the strategies here will be developing clear community guidelines, just establishing this. If you're having a community on Facebook, it's just creating these safe spaces for followers. For example, you could be working, let's say, to end FGM, but then the community that you have there, you have people who are bringing up sensitive topics, especially in FGM. There's people who have gone through FGM, for example, and if you're among here, trying just to do safeguarding and my language is not that sensitive, please let me know. And I'm saying it could be in that group and the majority of people there are not being sensitive with what you went through. They could be re-stigmatizing you, they could be trolling you or disrespecting you because maybe, for example, you went through FGM. Then there should be that guideline or community guideline that tells people that that won't be tolerated in that group and that people will be kicked out, for example. Number 2, engaging and not reacting. I know it is very hard when you're facing criticism or feedback and you want to respond in a way that I can also talk back to you like that. You get it? So respond calmly and professionally, because people will always go back and say, that Planned Parenthood page in Sierra Leone talked very badly to me, and I do not. And I keep telling people the NGO space is quite small. You could find maybe people are not engaging with your organization because maybe your social media manager went and abused someone that they didn't know was maybe popular or something. You never know. So use responses that are very professional when you're talking to people, and also opportunities to educate them. It could be they said, why are you anti-FGM? Don't you know that FGM will do 1, 2, 3? Then now go back and tackle that criticism with knowledge about why FGM is bad for young girls, maybe at that age, or people who don't have the opportunities to maybe consent to that, for example, and just clarifying that misunderstanding. So number 3 is also creating a safe space for sensitive topics. I keep that one ties back to strategy number 1, just promoting that community clear guidelines. So if your content only attracts backlash, or if your followers feel uncomfortable sharing openly, then it could be because your platform is not being safe for them. So number 1, always practice safeguarding of your followers. They need to feel safe when they're coming with these stories. And I also for creating safe spaces, it could be maybe one day you decided to shoot content with someone and didn't give a disclaimer, for example, that their face will be on the content. And people, I encourage consent, especially if you're shooting content with anyone. Just always have that consent form, because that creates also a safe space for people to know. In regards of where I don't want my photo or my face being shown, then you can just use my voice, or you can just alter my voice. Then that creates a safe space for this sensitive topic. Number 4 is mental resilience. We encourage advocates to take breaks, because always seeing negative things on social media is not healthy, and sensitive issues can be draining. When you're always seeing cases of gender-based violence, you also feel drained, even for example, as a woman, and it could also happen to you even as a man, then that can be draining. And it's essential to just have that balance in social media, that your content could also sometimes be positive and sometimes it could be negative. Sorry, is there any question? Mohammed? Which Mohammed? Is it Mohammed Bello or Koroma? Okay. So yeah, I kept mentioning
it's a mistake. Sorry.
It's okay. Mental resilience. Always take a break, especially if you're working in communication and always seeing these sensitive topics online. So always take a break, and also encouraging your followers to take a break. And by breaks also, it means just creating content that is not always negative. It could be maybe a positive win for your organization, and it's not always about that. Today, my organization went and tackled this issue in gender-based violence. It could be a positive, for example, the National Policy Act on Gender-Based Violence in Sierra Leone has been passed, and this is what it says, that is positive. At least it gives people hope, and not always coming to your page to receive bad news. So crafting visual content for SRHR. So the content types, I keep saying infographics, just breaking down complex information. When we were saying about evidence-based research, make sure your content is bite-sized for people to understand. For example, don't always use jargon. People might not understand. I know for us in the SRHR space, we keep saying SRHR. For us, we understand each other. But for the audience out there, they could not understand what SRHR is, what CSC is. So try to use or to break down this information into bite-sized content that people can easily understand. It could be you're saying 90% of youth have gone through maybe the CSE, or maybe the 50% of women that have gone through what is it called, gender-based violence. So try to use a visual, maybe even a pie chart that shows you this number. It could be an arrow that is pointing going up, so people know at least that there's rising cases of gender-based violence, for example, in Sierra Leone, and that is easily understandable to them, even in the communities. For your videos, short videos for storytelling, testimonials, expert insights, it could be you've shot a video with someone giving a testimonial about how your program has also helped them. For example, they came to you for SRHR advice and how your program has helped them grow in terms of in the space also, and also getting this access to this information. There's also carousel posts. They are good step-by-step information. It could be maybe you're trying to promote a toolkit that you've developed. It could be that you have this evidence-based data. So you could be saying step 1, swipe left, step 2, swipe like this. Yeah. And then also by designing, your posters need to be eye-catchy. For example, if you go right now on social media and the first post you see that attracts you, it could be maybe it's because someone has used the color red or the color orange somewhere that has attracted you. So try to use color schemes that are bright, that are not dull. Ensure that your text is clear, concise, that people can understand. Don't just, where those posters where you see there's so many logos that have been used, there's so many text that has been used that you're even struggling to understand what exactly is this poster trying to talk about. It could be they're promoting an event, but you've seen so many information on it, like it's not easily digestible for you to be quick. You want to, if you're posting about an event, just tell me place, the time, the location, the title of the event, and you're done. Don't just put so many. There's people who put over 10 logos on their posters, and that's not a way to ensure that your content is good, presentable, and easily digestible for people. And also prioritizing mobile-friendly formats, because not many people use their laptops on social media. So the first thing, they could be using their phone going home and they see your poster is stretched out, so they won't understand what you're trying to give, because when it's stretched but it's also clear on the laptop, then they're not seeing what you are trying to communicate. So use mobile-friendly formats. I hope we're together till there. Before I start my next segment.
Art of storytelling and impact.
Yeah, if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone, unless I mute it for everyone. I didn't want to mute it for everyone, but please check, unless you've raised your hand to speak or your background isn't that noisy. Thank you. Okay, I guess we're good to go now. And thank you so much, Rosalind, for being a great wing woman. So we're driving into the art of storytelling and its impact on driving social change. So I keep mentioning storytelling also in your content. It's a powerful tool that has been used for centuries to communicate. It could be you've watched a documentary maybe of the history of Sierra Leone. That is also storytelling, trying to tell you how people came to be, if we were colonized, how did we gain our independence, and such things. They share experiences and they evoke emotions in you to want to have a better experience than those who came behind us. So when it comes to driving change, storytelling becomes even more impactful. We've seen stories that have been short documentaries that have even gone ahead and won awards. And through these awards, or even through these stories, they have gained even funding for next projects, for example. And so here's how the art of storytelling can drive change also for your organization. So whether you've done written narratives, documentaries, personal testimonials, storytelling is a great tool for advocates to use to make positive impact in your society. Number one, you're using emotional connection. When someone sees that whatever they have gone through is also relatable to people, then these stories make it more relatable. And sorry guys, I have to see whether my internet went down. Give me a moment.